Hi, Dave here, and this is Art Log 3. And it's September 2020, and I think it's time to update you guys with some of the work I've done so far in the past few days. So I did a few landscape thumbnails and some sci-fi thumbnails. Develop a few of those. Let's go back and develop some of the landscape stuff. Now, the reason why I did the landscape thumbnails and the sci-fi stuff is because I was actually struggling with ideas. Like, I did not know what exactly to paint. And so I was like, but I did have a specific theme. I wanted to explore some landscape stuff, and I also wanted to explore some sci-fi themed things. So I decided to just focus on my thumbnail game and see how I can come up with some kind of interesting landscapes and sci-fi pieces. And I was going to develop a few of these. Or at least maybe half, but I ended up, I tried developing this and this and this, trying it in a more opaque style, but it did not turn out the way I wanted it to. So I decided to simplify my process and focus more on opacity type of brushes where I can kind of build up the paint instead of it being more opaque. And so I did a few of that in the following sketches. For example, this is kind of my once I did the kind of opacity type of brush work with mostly circle brushes, I was like, you know what? I think I should stick to this kind of style because it's more repeatable compared to the more opaque stuff, which I did. I didn't post them on the portfolio because it's not as good looking. So I do think it's helpful to kind of simplify your tool set, your process, and stuff like that. I did use some texture brushes, a very simple kind of branch-like texture stuff to kind of just add more variety, some slight variety. And I actually only used 2 photos. So I wanted to do more painting than photo bashing for the sketches, and I think I succeeded with the level of photo bashing. I wanted the photos to be more of a base in terms of the colors and the mood or lighting, atmosphere, and that's pretty much it. For the kind of subject matter, it's up to me to kind of I decided that it ought to be up to me to paint it, right, instead of the photos kind of deciding for me what to paint. And I think I am developing a better or getting used to a better process of painting. So these are some of the thumbnails that in the kind of landscape stuff that I've decided to develop. I did add some kind of noise here to signify a kind of the splashing kind of water effect, just a little bit. And again, most of this stuff, whenever you use a photo, a lot of it is just using the blending modes in the kind of layered window. And you'll hopefully find something that works. And it's actually more about trial and error when it comes to blending modes. The multiply, the darker color dodge, overlay, stuff like that. I don't think there's always kind of a one solid way of doing things. It really does depend. So just make sure you can, or you're used to playing around with those blending modes, because you'll end up with something. You'll be able to capture some of those colors and kind of bring it into your thumbnail black and white sketches. And I think I did about 5. Yep, I did about 5 of these. That's good enough. And yeah, I am developing that skill of, like, I can I'm comfortable enough to develop a black and white sketch into something that's colored and kind of take the next step. So these 5, I think, is a good enough kind of test to see that, you know what, I can develop them in this kind of level. And I did make sure that I limited the canvas size. So I pretty much developed a good enough kind of process to develop the black and white sketches, and I think doing those 5 sketches was enough for me to kind of settle my process, right? And also in the past kind of few days, I decided to start a new series, kind of an art doodle series where it's sort of a space for me to do more experiments, to do studies and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to limit it to about an hour. And for this series in the YouTube side, I don't think I'm going to do voiceovers for them. I'm just going to let the videos play, add some background music, and that's pretty much it. Because they're more doodles, and I think you can kind of get the gist of the process just by seeing it. And I did speed it up, so it's not real time. But I do say how long the sketch takes. I'm probably going to limit it to just about maximum an hour or a minimum of 30 minutes, usually around that range. And it's just for me to kind of take a break from the whole kind of solid, reliable process. And it's just for me to kind of experiment and stuff, play with some brushes that I've made so far. So yeah, so that's a new series. I'm not sure how many times I'll be doing this in a week, but they're going to be fairly regular. So they're doodles, experiments, explorations, studies, stuff like that. So yeah. Now when it comes to the sci-fi, I did develop one of them instead of picking a few to develop them in terms of just coloring them and leaving them as a sketch. I wanted to kind of push it further, more into a... Like this one is, even though it's kind of impressionistic, you can see the brush strokes, which I do like. It's a little defined, or slightly more refined. It's more of a finished sketch. I would say it's a finished type of sketch where it's a bit more rendered or more like tighter in some way, especially for this ship. Now for the background, I did leave it as it is. Very impressionistic. I used some of the kind of fine liner stuff, brush with some color dynamics to kind of just indicate some of that kind of lights and stuff instead of using photos. I did learn this kind of look from one of the personal sketches, I believe, of John McCoy. If you check out his personal website, his portfolio website, and in his personal work area, he did use this kind of a line thing and with some color dynamics, and it did do a good job of indicating or suggesting some kind of lighting. And I thought, you know what, it's pretty cool, so I'll use that in my own work. And I pretty much only used 2 photos for this one. I used the kind of the base photo for the colors, and then I did one kind of photo bash, especially with the front of the ship, because I was struggling with the design. So I wasn't actually taking into consideration the design aspect of this. So designing and kind of coming up with a concept on the fly is going to take some time. So it may kind of take an extra while to develop a certain thing. So maybe if you do have some initial design sketches and you kind of develop the kind of the main shape and stuff, the main design, motifs, I think you can speed things up faster. But if you're kind of starting from a very loose thumbnail, you'll end up taking a little more time developing the whole kind of concept thing. So I did this concept in 1920 by 1080, and then I did crop it to a more cinematic kind of aspect ratio. Okay, so let's check out the PSD file of this kind of thing, the kind of original piece before I cropped it and stuff, and we'll try and work our way from the shit from the very beginning and then work our way towards the more finished stuff. Shit. So we'll just hide some of the layers first and start from the very beginning. So we'll do a bit of a PSD walkthrough and just discuss some my kind of mindset and process and approach. So I did take one of the thumbnails from the Sci-fi thumbnails. I believe it was the it's one of the first ones. I think the second one, and then I used a photo, placed it underneath, and made sure that this original thumbnail was under multiply, so I could kind of take the blacks and implant it on the photo because I did like the mood of this photo. From there, I did a photo. I manipulated the foreground to kind of make it to suggest some kind of flooring. And by the way, I did add a kind of I did do a few red lines and stuff to help me with the perspective. So I do recommend you take some time and just do a kind of a simple indication of perspectives or of a kind of perspective line thing to kind of help you in your painting and photo bashing if ever you need to. So anyway, once I've manipulated the foreground kind of flooring, I did some painting, and I did use a very kind of a thick graphic kind of brush here just to help fill up the sky or to suggest the silhouettes of the building. Because if I used a very simple kind of circle brush with the opacity on, it's going to take time to kind of fill out the shape. So I did use one of my graphic brushes for this one. And then from there, I painted more. And I did paint within that kind of earlier perspective red line guidelines. And yeah. And it did fix a bit. I did fix some of the kind of high-rise building stuff, especially the kind of edges, trying to explore what the silhouette could be. From there, I painted some more, added some kind of lights here with just the circle brush, and I actually learned this kind of technique of starting with the kind of darker color and then working towards a more lighter color in the center from the way John Wallen Liberto does his lights, because he doesn't use a lot of photo bashing. Just he does more. He uses a lot of his circle brush type of painting, and he does like to indicate his lighting in this kind of technique. So I thought, you know what, that's a kind of cool technique. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it in my own work. And then I added some atmosphere stuff. I think with some basic cloud brushes with the opacity kind of very low. And then some more painting, defining that kind of edge right there. And I did some kind of ship development, trying to develop its design. Again, that will take time. So yeah. And I added a new layer of lights. Kind of guide lights. You can see them a lot in a lot of kind of landing platforms and stuff. Oh, I did use another photo. It's a kind of a mirrored photo of some kind of factory thing to suggest some kind of support system while this kind of ship is being maintained or fixed up. Added some wires. And here is I spent time on the lights and stuff with the whole fine liner, with the color dynamics on. And then added some smoke, especially coming from the bottom of this kind of support system. Yeah. And I think both of these the lights and the smoke does add life, even though right now you don't have a kind of human figure. The fact that there's smoke and there are lights, it suggests that this thing is in a place, in an environment that's alive. So it's it can add to the kind of atmosphere of the place. So from there, I did add some people. I just cut out some guys from photos and then painted on top. So we'll break them down. So photos, right? Some paint over, some light effect right there, and then some more paint over, especially with the kind of lighting and stuff to help make it fit the environment. And then from there, I did spend a considerable amount of time developing the ship. So we'll kind of break it down. So from here, I added a new kind of painting layer. I did like the way I painted the gun, and more painting. Although from here, you can actually tell. Now, I'm not a gamer, but this looks like a very Halo type of a helmet, right? And I think even in the kind of finished product, I was like, it still looks like kind of a Halo thing. So like the helmet and stuff. So design-wise, I think I could have done better. But yeah, it's fine. Although I did like the way I painted or designed the gun. So it just looks cool to me. From there, I painted some... I shifted the... I did paint the... this kind of a the pod thing, and then warped it to the side to make it kind of follow the perspective. So it does help to have some guidelines for the perspective, vanishing point and stuff. And then painted some more, developing some parts of the ship. I eventually settled on this kind of design for the top and bottom. These kind of things. I was playing around with the kind of shape and design. I did add some lights, developed a bit of the top part of the pod. There's a term for this kind of cockpit. Yes, cockpit. Damn. And then just filled up the top part right here because it was kind of boring if it's kind of too separated if I did it this way. So I kind of fixed things up, added some kind of light source in the kind of sides of the cockpit, kind of window frame. Oh, we have an empty layer here. And then I did add a few kind of highlights with the fine liner pen. So it does help make it more lighty or more kind of a LED type of light source. Some kind of more kind of reflections of a kind of bottom sourced lighting. And then I think I just took a piece of this flooring and then put it on a color dodge layer to kind of take away the or implant some of the lighting to kind of suggest a kind of tech stuff. And then from there I did develop the ship even more, but it was kind of boring and I did not know how to I didn't have an inspiration for the ship. It just kind of happened on the fly, so I did try to do my best to develop it, but it was just too boring. So I decided to photo bash, and I did get the kind of front part of an Apache helicopter and then blended it together with the ship. So I think it did help kind of make it more full or filled up, right? And then But I did develop the kind of top part thing here. Added some more lighting. And then just cleaned things up a little bit in some of the edges and stuff. Right? Added some more atmosphere or some slight glows to the lights and stuff. Just to make it more atmospheric. And then I did kind of adjusted the whole thing in terms of color, feel, and mood. So we'll break it down. So from here, So there's lighting. I did use a gradient map. Another gradient map. Oh no, I picked one gradient map out of the two, and I stuck, I believe. So this was option 1, this was option 2, and I decided to go for this kind of purplish, bluish kind of dark feel to kind of complement the sun, right? And then I flattened that. And then I used a color dodge tool. Now I'm editing this in a flattened kind of version of the whole thing. So I used color dodge. I did use some leveling, adjustment layer levels to help with the atmosphere and help push this ship and this background further back, because it was starting to look a little too flat, right? And then darkened up the foreground just a little bit in the bottom with another kind of leveling layer. And then that's pretty much it. And then from there, I saved this thing on its own kind of JPEG file, and then I edited that kind of version and cropped it and sharpened that thing to the version that you're familiar with now. And I also added a kind of logo to kind of show the artist creator name. So that's pretty much the process of how I did this ship concept thing. So I will be doing more of these in the future, although I think I'll be doing more sketches, definitely more colored sketches, and maybe I'll be doing, I don't know, 2 or 3 of this more, or maybe 5, I don't know, more of this kind of finished sketches or concepts and concept. Yeah, I'll see you in the next art log, and I hope you have a good day. Stay free.